future Aconcagua climbers. The idea of this video is to let you know a little bit the equipment that you're going to need for your climb on the mountain. As guides, the first thing we do when a group comes in is to check the equipment and go over all the things that people brought. Often there are items missing, so with this video hopefully you'll arrive in Mendoza with everything you need. First of all, you need clothes for the trek into the mountain. When we go to the first camps, the weather is still hot oftentimes, and so you're going to want trekking clothes. Cotton shirts are often comfortable for the walk-in. Long sleeve shirts are great because the sun is strong and it's good to be protected. Trekking pants, comfortable trekking pants like these work well, especially the ones that can be zipped down to shorts on the really hot days. You're going to also want to protect your heads. Baseball cap or any hat that covers your neck and your forehead well is ideal. Buffs are great not only for higher up but for down below as well, because Aconcagua is a dry mountain. It could be dusty, and buffs work well to cover your mouth and also your neck from the sun. In general, for warm clothes on the mountain, you're going to want to have a layer system so that you can adjust your clothing to the different conditions on the mountain, which are very varied. You're going to want to start with a base layer, something synthetic for your upper body. Short sleeve shirts are okay, or long sleeve, and leggings. Afterwards, several thin layers to put on top. Could be a soft shell jacket with a hood, or any of these sort of fleece layers work really well. Vests are ideal. They're light. They keep your core warm, but they leave your arms free for movement. And then, especially on the approach and on the carry days, you're always going to want to have your Gore-Tex jacket with you for the wind. If it's snowing, it's an essential part of your kit. And finally, at night, especially from base camp up when the temperatures drop below zero, and obviously also for the summit day, you're going to want a nice down jacket. Essential that it has a down hood. The better the feathers, the better the down you get, the lighter but warmer that the jacket's going to be. 800 fill is ideal, and if the jacket is an expedition weight jacket, even better. Summit days on Aconcagua are totally different than all the other days coming up to the last attack. On summit day, you leave early in the morning, the weather's really cold, and so you want to start off with as many layers and as warm of layers as possible. So on the legs, these pants are ideal. Synthetic pants that are light but super warm. You can use them with or without the base layer, and depending on the weather, you can use them with Gore-Tex pants as well. And that way you ensure not only that your body's warm, but especially your extremities, which is what you're most worried about. One of the reasons that people have to go down sometimes is because of cold hands and feet, and so you want your core to be as warm as possible. Something that's important about Aconcagua, although the temperature is the same as some areas that maybe you would think that you don't need that many clothes, on Aconcagua, because of the altitude and because of the fact that you have low oxygen and your body is just not working as well as it usually does, the cold affects you a lot more, especially in your circulation. That's why even though on summit day it can be minus 20 to minus 30 degrees, which for some people is nothing new, on summit day, because you're still acclimatizing and the altitude is affecting you, it's going to feel much colder than in other areas. All right, so for the hands, during the initial trek, you're going to want light gloves for the colder days. Thin liner gloves are ideal. And then for the walk up from the camps while you're doing your carries or while you're going up to camp 2 or 3, you're going to want warmer gloves and something, there's a bunch of different options as long as they're comfortable and there's not much that you have to worry about. And then on summit day, you're going to pull out your down mitts. The down mitts you're always going to want to use with the liner gloves, because you never want to have your hands exposed, so that if you want to take out your hand to adjust something or to take something out of your backpack, you always want it covered with the liner gloves first. The down gloves have to be easy to put on and take off, and the longer they are, the better to protect you from snow or wind getting in. Then your feet. Like I said, cold hands and cold feet are the #1 reason people have problems on summit day in terms of their clothes. So for the feet, we only accept plastic double boots, not single wall leather boots. In Europe, they're very common, but they're very technical boots. They work great in the Alps, but in Aconcagua, people often are cold with those boots. By double boots, we mean that they have an interior liner and then an exterior shell that go together. There are lots of different models of these. The La Sportiva Spantex are ones that we're seeing a lot on Aconcagua we're using, and they're super comfortable, but you have different options of plastic boots on the market. Okay, so that covers the extremities. On the hike, you're gonna want some light trekking shoes. In general, the hike in Aconcagua doesn't have lots of rocks or not very unstable, so light hiking shoes are fine, even running shoes for some people. And then for camp or for crossing rivers, the years where that's necessary, you're gonna want sandals, or Crocs are great because they're light. And then you're gonna want a good wool hat or polar hat to protect your head on the cold days. Socks, you're gonna want comfortable, thin trekking socks for the way in. You don't want your feet to get sweaty and create blisters, which can really ruin the expedition. People have come down just because of blisters, unfortunately. So you're gonna wanna have several socks for the expedition. And then you're gonna always wanna save one set of socks, liner socks and thick socks if that's what you choose, or just thick socks. But you're gonna wanna save one pair of socks that are clean and haven't been used for the summit day, to make sure that your feet are dry and warm. You also need the sun on Aconcagua is super strong and the UV radiation is really intense. So you wanna make sure that your eyes are covered at all times. Really good sunglasses are important. Sunglasses come in different factors. Factor 3 is fine for the hike in. Factor 4, which are slightly darker, are ideal for higher up. Then goggles are a good second eye protection to have with you. If it's stormy, if there's wind and it's snowed the day before, it lifts a lot of snow, and the goggles will really help you out if conditions are like that on the summit day. Gaiters are good to have. They're not essential, especially the years that are drier, but they protect you, they keep your feet a little warmer, they protect your feet from the wind getting in, as well as snow on years that's an issue. All right, so far we've looked at the clothes that we're gonna need and the boots. Now I'd like to talk about some of the other equipment, backpacks, technical equipment, and sleeping gear that we'll need to take with us as well. Because we use double boots on Aconcagua, which are rigid, the ideal crampons, as far as I'm concerned, are automatic crampons like these, or semi-automatic crampons. The point being that they're easy to put on and that you know how to put them on. Because summit day, the altitude is affecting you. Everything that you do is 10 times harder than it would be at sea level. So it's important to know how to put on your crampons and to make sure that they fit your boots, which is something you could do already at home to make, and if you could try them out before you came, that would be even better. So many times along the way, I've had clients whose crampons come off and then they waste time trying to put them back on, fixing them, readjusting them. Their hands get cold, and unfortunately, even sometimes they've had to go down because of that. In addition to the crampons, we're gonna want to have an ice axe. In Aconcagua, especially nowadays, the snow line has gone up in elevation, so the amount of time we have to use this technical gear has shortened. So you want to have an ice axe that's as light as possible, so you're not carrying extra weight. In length, you're going to want it about 50 to 60 centimeters. You don't need anything any longer than that. And you'll want to make sure that you have something to a leash on the ice axe. If it falls, it doesn't go tumbling down the hill. For sleeping, what you're going to want are 2 layers. First, a foam mattress, and then an inflatable mattress. You're going to be in the tent for at least 2 weeks. You want to be comfortable, especially in the upper camps where you can't always choose exactly where to pitch the tent and the ground is uneven or has rocks underneath. The inflatable mattress is wonderful, but you want something underneath it so that it doesn't get punctured. And then your sleeping bag. On Aconcagua, I find that down is the best and lighter than synthetic packs. It's rare that there's so much moisture in Aconcagua that you need a synthetic sleeping bag. You can use it if that's what you have. If you're going to buy it for this trip, I think a down sleeping bag is ideal. Something with a cold rating of 25 degrees, more or less, is Celsius, is ideal for the mountain. And you're going to want to have a stuff sack. Some sleeping bags nowadays come with a stuff sack, but if yours doesn't, I would highly recommend buying it. Some sleeping bag covers that come with the bag are tight and hard to fit in, and you waste a lot of energy each time you put it in. So the stuff sacks are usually a little bigger. They're easier to put the sleeping bag in, but then you can pack it down and compress it so that it takes up less space in your backpack. Other things that you're going to need. First of all, backpacks. On the approach, you're going to want to have a small backpack. There are very few things that you need to take with you on the approach. Your Gore-Tex jacket, some extra layers of clothing, your lunch, sunglasses, things like that. So a small backpack, about 35 liters, is ideal for the walk-in. You want to try to be as light as possible so you're not wasting energy on the way in while you're still acclimatizing. Then for the higher camps, when you start carrying and when you start going up to the high camp, you're going to want a bigger backpack. 70 liters to 85 liters is ideal. It should be able to fit your sleeping bag, your sleeping mat, all the extra clothes that you have for the summit, and comfortable to wear because you're going to be carrying something like 12 to 16 kilos, so you don't want it to hurt your back. And nowadays backpacks come with really light material. The more weight you can save on the backpack, the better. Some of the older backpacks like the Dana designs were wonderful, carried really well, but they were super heavy and you're wasting weight for no reason. Liquids. Liquid is essential on Aconcagua. I think that the only thing that you could really do to ensure your proper acclimatization is hydrating well, and so you want to make sure that you have plenty of water and liquids with you at all times. In the approach, you're going to want 1 or 2 liters of water. There's usually not any water between the camps, so you're going to want to fill up from one camp to the other. On the approach, a bottle, the Nalgene bottles on their own is usually more than okay, but in the high camps, especially at night, the water starts to freeze in the bottle, and so these insulating covers are ideal. This one has a zipper, which works well in the most common models that you see, but on Aconcagua, because of all the dust and the dirt that there is, sometimes the zippers get stuck and break. So something like this, made out of neoprene that can be easily closed or covered, is a really good idea. Thermoses, at least one, are great. They're a little heavier than the Nalgene bottles, but especially on a cold day, having something hot to drink can bring back the spirit in your body. Another bottle that you're going to need to take with you is the pee bottle. This is essential. One of the symptoms of high altitude, or one of the things that happen in high altitude, is that you pee a lot more. At night, you're going to be peeing sometimes 3 or 4 times, and having a pee bottle so that you don't have to get out of your tent in the cold nights, especially in the high camps, makes a huge difference. So pee bottle, but well marked so that you don't confuse it with your water bottles. Lastly, one other option for water is dromedary. This is one by MSR. These are really light and take up no room when they're empty, but this one can fill up with 4 liters of water. So for the walks or at night in the camp, these are really good to have with you. All right, some other items you're going to need to take with you is the headlamp for the nights in the camp, and also on the summit day if you leave before sunrise. Sunblock, it's factor 30 or above. Also a first aid kit. There are doctors on the mountain from the approach camp, in the approach camp and in base camp, but to have medication they take regular with you, some headache pills, and some Band-Aids is always a good idea to have with you. You want to pack your things in strong duffel bags. The bags that we found work the best are these North Face duffel bags. Remember that the gear goes up on mules, which are tied down with ropes, and the mules walk for 6 or 7 hours at a fast pace, and everything comes jumping about on the mule. So you're going to want to pack everything in 2 duffel bags because most companies on Aconcagua, when you arrive in Penitentes, split the gear into one bag, which is your high altitude bag, which has all the gear you need from base camp up. And then the other bag, which goes with you to the approach camps, whether you're going up the Bacas Valley or the Orcones Valley. So you're going to want to need 2 duffel bags. The high altitude bag is going to have everything that you're going to use from base camp up that you don't need in the approach. Things like your plastic boots, ice axe, which you should pack well so that it doesn't cause holes in your bag. Extra clothes like your down or Primaloft pants for the summit, extra socks, your crampons, goggles, warm gloves or mittens, thermoses, your high altitude bag. Everything else goes in the other duffel bag, which will follow you along the way on the approach.